everyone, we're about to start another project that really is near and dear to my heart, the ocean. Who doesn't love the ocean? Well, I grew up in Southern California and I was very attached to it from an early age. And we used to go down to Laguna Beach a lot, and this is where I discovered this next artist. His name is Robert Wyland. He was born in 1956 in Michigan, and he's best known for his 100 whaling walls. He, being from Michigan, he went to California when he was 14 years old, and he actually was able to see a migration of gray whales going down the coast of California to Mexico. And that is what started his whole inspiration for his whale art. Other than whales, he does any other sea creature you can imagine. He has a beautiful gallery in Laguna, so if you're ever there, please stop by the gallery. It's absolutely phenomenal. He's an ocean conservationist. He has started his own foundation to inspire children through ocean art, and he really has inspired me as far as my ocean conservation and what I do in my art. 2 years ago, I traveled to Haiti and was part of the Haiti Ocean Project. I painted several murals at their facility there and participated in teaching some of the kids some art lesson and conservation through ocean art as well. So it was very cool, and I hope to go back again. You can usually see me painting more pictures of the ocean the more and more I miss California. So some of my pieces include my VW bus, which is overlooking the ocean, and my little camping picture that features the above ground and the below, with my sea turtle in there. I was also able to do a show that featured my art at the ASU Gamage that was all on critically endangered species. So you can see behind me, you can see part of my elephant and my tiger. I had a whole series of animals that are on the critically endangered list right now. And one of them, again, the hawksbill sea turtle. All of these that I did have a tear coming from the eye of the animal because they are on the critically endangered list, as well as this vaquita here, which there is only about 20 left in the whole world. So as you can see, this type of art is very meaningful to me, and I'm going to enjoy showing you some ideas on how to get started. Let's get started with the supplies that we need. Of course, you're going to need your handout, all right? So that has a lot of ideas on it. You will also need your watercolors for this, your watercolor paper, and some water, clean water, your pencils and erasers for sketching things out, and some napkins, all right? It is up to you if you want to outline your picture in Sharpie afterwards, okay? I'm going to leave that up to you. But I'm going to show you some tips for getting like a light source in there and some other things with the watercolors. So let's get started. Let's get started with some of Wyland's images here. As you can see, they're just beautiful, and some of them will depict a little bit of the above ground and then the ocean below. Some of them will show a mother and a baby, the light source again. Or you can do a complete scene that has a lot of different ocean life, as well as some, seaweed, coral, and all of that. This one is a beautiful sea turtle, again, ocean light coming in there. So we're going to go and practice how to draw some of these animals that we can do easy. So when you look at the handout that I have provided, I want you to see and break down things into shapes as to see how things look. Like that's a sad smile, or maybe a half circle coming up like a roller coaster would come up. So break things down into things that you know these shapes look like. This could be a letter U. All right, so this could be, a W in here. Anything that you can break it down so that you can relate to it a little bit better will help you in your drawing process. And I do this with everything I draw. So let's go over what is expected for this project. I want you to practice drawing ocean animals. So whether you do maybe 2 on a page or 1 on a page big like this, get these on here so that you can practice drawing some ocean animals. All right, get those practice pages in, and then you can just group them all together for one photo to submit to me that you have practiced all of these animals. And after you've done practicing them, what I'd like you to do is come up with your idea then for your picture. Is it going to go vertical? Is it going to go horizontal? Are you going to have a horizon with the sky above and the ocean life underneath, or is it completely all underwater? So we're going to go over that too. let's take a look at this beautiful orca. That's the name of my husky too, by the way. And let's go ahead and start drawing this. So what I want you to do, like I said, is look at that as maybe a sad smile. And you're gonna go ahead and get that started. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get that sad smile drawn. And then we see that it goes up maybe into more of a happy smile. All right, that's a little bit shorter. So I'm gonna get started with that, leaving room for my tail over here. And then take a look, this whole area here is a happy face. All right, so I'm going to round the edges like a football, all right, and then bring that around, all the way around, all the way around to where the tail is going to begin. In all of the larger mammals here, these are going to be a little bit more narrow right here, so make sure you get that in. All right, and then notice where the fin is on top. The fin is a little bit thinner, right about in the middle there on an orca. So you're gonna get that in there. And then notice where these fins are. Again, that looks kind of like a letter U coming out, and it's on this side of the fin over there, the top fin. So I'm gonna just do a light sketch now. You can go back in and fix that. All right, and then notice the other one is coming out this way. So you're going to see the one on the other side there as well. Right now I've got some pretty sketchy lines just because it's my rough draft here. And I want to erase this because the fin is on this side, right? And then I want to get this in there. So I'm going to get that line that comes around. Again, that sad smile look comes up and it goes into a big loop up there and back around. And then maybe another little bit showing there. Get that oval that goes to a point like a teardrop. The eye goes underneath there. And then you can get some other sketchy lines in there. Now when you go to do the tail, let's take a look at the tail. Both sides kind of comes up like that. Looks like an S, all right? And same with the other side. It's gonna be a slight S curve. And then I'm gonna go in and make the other part of my tail up like that. All right, so get familiar with sketching out some of these animals, and let's look at other shapes. Let's go for the dolphin. Again, sad smile, start out with. So I'm gonna start here, go around to that sad smile. This is just for the body part. And then it kind of has a little forehead that comes down. All right, so I wanna get that little forehead that comes down. All right, then I'm going to go into the bottlenose area and notice that the lower lip comes out a little bit farther than the upper lip. So the bottom lip comes out a little bit farther there than the upper lip. All right, and I'm just gonna make that come around, kind of dips down, shows a little bit of a belly right there that comes down. All right, and again, comes into a real skinny area where the tail fin is going to attach. All right, so this is just my rough so far. Right in the middle, I'm gonna get that fin, and that's more like a shark fin. Okay, so it looks like a wave, and then watch, it's like a backwards C that I'm gonna get in there to make that fin on top. And then I'm gonna go and work on getting these other fins done. This fin is lined up right with the top fin. So that's my indicator there, how I can get started on that. And get that top fin in there. And erase that, remember, because it's on the outside, it's on top of the body there. And then I can do the other side as well and get that in there. All right, get that erased. I'm gonna get that forehead in there a little bit more. All right, I'm gonna bring that around, see where the eye is. And then I'm going to notice the smile. It kind of dips down and then into a smile and comes up. All right, I'm gonna thin that out just a little bit so that that looks better. And again, just draw lightly so that you can go in and do any corrections that you need to. And then I'm gonna go around to now where the tail is again and get that in there with these. This is gonna come out this way And you can just move your paper if you need to and get that tail fin in there. All right, then you can get a few little shading, and I'll show you how to do that when we paint to get some of that shading done. All right, so there's our dolphin that we've drawn so far. All right, next, let's look at the sea turtle. Right away, I see the shape that's like an oval right there. So I can go ahead and get that shape in there to start out with. It's at a little bit of an angle, and then I can go in and make the top of the shell look more like that at the top. All right, so I've got that for the body, and then I'm going to notice this border that goes around the shell, not on the top, just on the side. So I'm going to extend that out in shapes right now and bring that around. I can go in and erase, right? That's what a rough draft is for. All right, so I've got that basic turtle shell shape right now, and then notice this zigzag that's not quite in the middle. So I'm going to start that over here and get that zigzag going. All right, and then from there, I'm going to bring these lines down. And then I can get the other side of the zigzag at the top and then get some arched lines going in here for that part. I'm going to go ahead and get my fins, the little legs in the back that are going to be more, this is the difference between the tortoises, right, and the sea turtles, and get this around. All right, for the fin, and across I'm going to get the other one. Okay, and then I'm going to go into, I see that there's a neck coming out for the sea turtle and a little bit more of a body and the shoulder right there, and then going into another oval. So get that oval drawn for the head, and again this time the mouth on top sticks out a little bit farther than the one on bottom, and then there's a little bit of texture that you're going to see in the turtle as well, almost like a reptile texture in there. So let's see, we have one more left, and that would be our shark. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you on this one here. Start out again with that sad smile that I did going all the way around. The fin, the tail on this one is a little bit more pointed, and then this comes around for the mouth over here. So I'm going to have you get started on all of those ocean samples. All right, I've decided that I want to do a vertical picture, and I'd like to have a little bit of the sky on top, and then I'm going to have a couple of animals at the bottom here with maybe a little bit of seaweed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get my horizon line drawn in at the top. Again, it can be a little wavy because it's the ocean, right? If you want to have a little bit of an island maybe coming out, you can draw that. What I don't want you to do is draw any type of sun. We're going to do that as a watercolor piece, but we don't want a sun in the corner, or we don't want a big round sun. We're going to do that ourselves with the watercolor. So if you do want to make any type of island inlet or something coming out, you can do that and get that lightly sketched in. But right now I want to show you just a little trick. If you drew your sea turtle so well and you are like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so hard for me to recreate this, I want to show you a little trick. Here's my rough draft for my sea turtle. I'm going to turn it over, and I can see, I don't know if you can see it, but I can see through my paper where all my lines are. So I'm going to use the edge of my pencil, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to color it in. All right, I'm using my pencil pretty dark, and I'm coloring in that whole area on the back of the page where I see the sea turtle. All right, once I do that, I'm going to take one of my napkins and I'm going to rub it in. This is really important that you rub the graphite in. All right, after I do that, I am going to go and place it where I'd like my sea turtle to be. And I might like it to be right about here. Maybe he's going up. They go up for air about every 20 minutes. All right. I'm then going to take and place it there, get a ballpoint pen out, and I'm going to trace over my pencil lines that drew the whole turtle. If you need to tape it down, you can. If not, just hold it really good. I'm just going to trace the outline of the outer part so that you can see what I'm talking about here. It's like a little trick how to get your image that you've drawn onto something else. Now I'm going to lift off the page, and voila, I'm going to hold it up closer here so that you can see a very light image that is drawn out on the paper. So what it did was the pressure from the pen made the graphite go onto my board and left me this nice clean outline. So I don't have to worry about all sorts of eraser marks and everything on my good watercolor paper. So I can do that with my dolphin. I could do it with any of the animals that I drew that I'd like to have on here. So I think I'm going to also include my dolphin on this picture and get all of that and my seaweed and coral at the bottom. So let me get that put into the picture now. All right, now you can see that I have my whole picture sketched out. I have my sea turtle, my dolphin, a little bit of coral and seaweed, same down here. And at the top of my page, I have the horizon line, and I put a couple of little island inlets with some palm trees that I'm going to silhouette. So as usual with watercolors, we want to color one section at a time and let it dry. We are going to do the ocean, the actual water last. So when you do your dolphin and then your sea turtle and then this, let it dry completely, okay? So let's get started on the sunset, all right? When I'm going to get my watercolors here, I want to use the color that is the lightest right over here where the sun is right now. So I'm going to soften up my yellow, and I want a really bold sunset like the one in the picture. So remember, the less water, the darker the color. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of make that halfway circle right there and paint that in. All right, so you see how dark I can get my paint there. All right, and then I'm gonna go wash my brush real good and get into the orange. Now this time I do want to keep it wet, and I'm painting that circle around this way now. But I kind of don't want that line. I don't want it to look so cartoony. So I clean my brush really good, and I leave a little bit of water on it, and I go in and kind of scrub that line area. And when I kind of scrub that, it's going to start bleeding into the yellow a little bit more. All right, and I can wash that, and I can do just the opposite. Put a little bit more yellow in there to bleed into the orange. All right, and now you can see I'm starting to lose that line a little bit, and it's starting to blend just a little bit more together now. All right, so the water will make that blend just a little bit more. All right, and then I can go in and get some more orange and get that around as well. And right now what I want to do is blend my orange. I want to put maybe a little bit of red near the top because it's going to be a little bit darker up there. And I keep blending so that you don't see any lines. All right, I'm going to show you one other little trick in a minute here as far as the sky goes. And you have to do this while your watercolor paper is wet. All right, so remember, it's key to wash off your brush in between. And you don't want to keep going over yellow with the orange because it's just going to turn into a lighter orange. All right, so I'm going to continue getting that scrubbed a little bit. Now, while my watercolor paper is still wet and it's very wet on top, I can take a napkin and I kind of crinkle it all up like this and form almost a stamp, and that's my cloud. I can skinny it up a little bit there, and if I stamp it on my page and lift, you can see I start to get, it lifts some of the colors, and I get an image that almost looks like a cloud. And again, if it's too much, I can go in and just kind of blur it just a little bit on the edges. but I still get that cloud look in there, and it's really kind of cool. All right, I have my sunset done, but I'm not gonna go in and paint my mountains, my dark black or brown and black together, because this is still wet. And what happens is if I put the black in here, it's called bleeding. It's all gonna bleed up in there, and I don't want the black to start floating around in the sky. So I am gonna wait for that to completely dry. But while that's drying, I can move on to my dolphin. So I can go in, and remember, the more water, the lighter the color. So I can use some water in black in order to create my gray. All right. I'm gonna get that in there. Okay, so that's a little too dark for the dolphin, right? So I'm just gonna continue adding water and spreading it to make my gray color. All right, so I'm gonna keep that moving along. And if you have done any shading before, the fish is shaped more like a cylinder, right? So you want it to shade like a cylinder would shade. And your light is coming from right here now, right? So the more light is going to be on the top than it is on the bottom. So what I might want to do is make that a little bit lighter. And I can go in and just kind of press my napkin on top and lift it and get that lighter. And then I want to go and make the bottom part a little bit darker and add some more water to the bottom. All right, and then get that kind of in there to get that darker side. And then maybe the fin in here will be a little bit darker. And again, I don't want that line, so I'm going to go in and just kind of scrub it a little bit, get some water on there, and blend it just a little bit more so I don't see that line. And then continue. So sometimes the dolphins are, you know, a bluish color too. They have a little bit of blue in them. Feel free to take and put just a little bit of blue on your brush. Get some water if it looks like it's too dark and just spread it around a little bit. All right. So I'm going to get that and spread that just a little bit and continue to get that all on the fin. Upper fin. All right, so continue that. Try to stay inside your lines. You're going to wait for that to dry completely before you start. And then this fin should be a little bit darker as well because it's underneath this one. Get that darker in there. Darker on that side. Okay, and then keep working around and get your dolphin finished. And then you can let that dry and move on to the next animal, which is the turtle in my picture. Now I'm going in to paint my seaweed, and I can fill that in. And again, just don't use one color. Get a couple colors in there. All right, use your yellows, your greens, maybe a little red that when you use your napkin, it'll turn pink a little bit. So if it's a little too much, you want to get that coming down. All right, and if it's a little too dark for you, remember, just take your napkin, kind of stamp it and lift it straight up, and you'll get a cool little image on there and also get a little bit of a lighter color in there. So make this part colorful. Get your purples and everything in there to get your sea anemones or whatever you want to call them, and coral. Get some bright colored coral. You can use your pinks and your oranges and all of that, and get all that painted in now so that all we have left is the ocean, and then to go back in when that's dry and to finish off that and do our light source. All right, since everything is dry in my sunset, I'm going to go ahead and put a very small amount of water in my black paint well, and I'm going to roll my brush so I can get more of a point on it, and then that way I can go in and finish my palm trees that are in the sky and not worry about them bleeding out into the rest of the sky. So I'm going to get that finished. All right, now though my water is all black, so it's important that I'm going to switch that out and get fresh water and make sure my brushes are all clean before I start to do the ocean. All right, let's take a look at the light source here. Notice how we've got the sun, a little bit of white, 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 white. So we see a pattern going here where it's going to be a little bit of white right where the sun is coming into the ocean, and then we're going to see a few rays coming out. See the rays coming down? I'm going to show you how to make that. So we're going to go ahead, I've got my clean water, I'm going to go get my blue really good on my brush right now, and I want the ocean to be a little bit darker around this area, and then as I get to the sun, I'm going to skip that for now so that I can go back in with some water and create my lighter area there. All right, so I've got that. There we go. And now I'm going to go in and wash that brush off a little bit and then just come back in with water only so I can make that a little bit lighter in there. All right. So once again, I'm going to make sure I get all of that. Okay. I've got a little bit of my lighter area there as well. And since the sky is dry, I'm not getting any bleeding going in of those colors, which is really nice. All right. So now that I've got a little bit of white there, I can go in, and if I want to, I can just stamp out a little bit since we know how to do that. Get that a little bit. We could add a little yellow in there to look like a reflection later as well. So what I'm going to do is show you now how to create those rays of light. So I'm going to go ahead, and again, your water has to be on the paper. It's got to be wet. So I'm going to go in and kind of work a little bit faster here. And I'm just putting actually water and a mixture of paint on the paper here. So I'm going to go around the dolphin right now. All right. I'm going to go around. And the ocean is really a mixture of blue and green, right? So I can wash my brush and get a little bit of green on there as well and go in with some water again and get that to blend a little bit darker so that I can get a nice dark ocean color, that nice teal color in there. All right, so do we see how wet my paper is? I think you can see that. I'm gonna go in and get this just around here a little bit more. And since the dolphin is all dry, remember, we're good, right? So it's not bleeding all into the dolphin and ruining anything there. So my paper is nice and wet. I'm gonna go over this again, maybe stamp that out a little bit more, so I can get that white in there. All right. And then what I'm going to do for my rays, now you can continue doing this a little bit more, but make sure it's wet. I'm just going to fold my paper so that I kind of just have like a pen point, really, okay? And then I'm going to go from where my light source is coming and just streak it down like this. It's going to streak all the way down. So I'm going to get that light source coming in. And you can switch and go over to another side here so that you can get that coming down, okay? And then you can go back in and you can, like I said, we can paint over the dolphin a little bit more afterwards, but continue so that you can get those rays of light coming down, and then you can go back in and kind of like put some white in there again. When I say white, it's really water that you can stamp out a little bit and streak down as well. Okay, and then you can go back in and get some other light coming down. So you can see how we're doing our light source there and getting those rays to come down a little bit more. And it's just playing with it, really. You can go back in. This is the good thing about really good watercolor paper. You can do this. So you can create those rays of light coming down, and then you can go ahead and finish off the rest of your ocean. All right, this piece is done, and I want to go over a few of the things that I added. I went ahead and added my light source going down there, and as I got farther and deeper into the ocean, the colors got a little bit darker. So I put a little bit of a darker black through here as a little bit of a shadow, and again just feathered it out with water. And then I just filled in all my seaweed and my coral and all of that. So go ahead and make your final piece of art. I can't wait to see it. And thanks a lot.